It's not. So when I was a kid, a pastor's kid, my biggest fear was getting left behind in the rapture. So I came home from school and everybody was supposed to be home. Hey guys, I'm home. But nobody's answering, so I go into their room. Their clothes laid out, like their shoes.
Every day when I take a shower, I fold a towel on the toilet and make a nice comfortable seat. I'm like, I don't want the seat to be cold for you, God, while I'm in the shower. Sometimes when I'm lazy and tired, I'll like throw it on the toilet. I'll be like, oh, that's good. I'm like, wait, no, he needs a good seat, dude. I'm like, I gotta fold it. Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Cabin Time, episode 11. God? What was I going to say, God? Still in prayer mode, but if I just want to start off with anything, could I just have you guys repeat after me? God is good.
God is good.
All the time.
All the time.
And all the time.
And all the time.
God is good.
God is good.
God made this day.
God made this day.
And let's look at it as such, because, man, I had such a hard day, if I could tell you guys the most.
What happened?
9 hours at work. 2 hours taking a test.
Why are you looking at me?
Because she knows it was 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Taking a test. Recording a pod. If I could just tell you guys anything, life has been low-key stepping on my chest. Do you guys ever feel like that? How do you guys feel right now?
A little tired.
What do you usually do when you're in like a predicament where life is just so tough on you? Oh, you guys do that? That's what you guys do? All right.
I mean,
Says a lot.
I don't know. Pray.
Yeah, but like,
Dang,
I
that was
I mean, what else do you
you guys
want?
just pray?
Yeah, pray. Stay
Honestly,
prayed.
you guys are better than me. Sometimes, if I could be honest, like, I just take it to the chin, and I kind of try to do it within my own strength, and it kind of be like, you know, it'd be like that sometimes. But without further ado, we told you guys last week that we'll be having a pretty good guest. So I hope you guys tuned in this week. You know, we have the SOCAL Youth Alive director. He is a father of unreasonably big babies. He's a cool dude, and he's that guy on stage at camp. All right. Without further ado, we have Elliot.
Yeah.
What's up?
Is Elliot dialed for his softball game today?
Dude, I told him it was raining, so they canceled it. We had to move this podcast up.
Where do you play at?
Huntington.
Huntington. Is that like a park?
There's a park in Huntington, yeah.
Well, you know, I play softball too. If you want to get a scrimmage, huh? 1-on-1. Do you play?
Yeah, let's do
Home
it.
run derby.
1-on-1 softball. So
I hit a home run this year.
you did? Was it like
Over
the
fence.
infield?
Huh?
Oh, you guys play with a
Yeah,
fence?
there's a little fence, and
Fancy.
because last season I hit an in the park grand slam, but it was off of error,
Yeah.
and so it didn't feel it felt good. But it didn't feel as
Yeah,
good.
it's like I feel where you're coming from.
But it was over the fence.
Hey, there you go. How
Is-
far is the fence?
I don't know. I don't need to ask.
Oh.
But it's not like everybody is hitting it over the fence. It was the only home run that game.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so it's like
Did you play baseball in high school?
no.
Did you
I played little league, and I was bad at it. I could tell you stories on pod about this. I'll tell them at youth groups, but I don't know if that's where you want to go.
Let me hear one.
So the story I'll tell at youth groups a lot is I played little league in elementary school because I'm white. So
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where we all started.
in little league, and I was bad. But one year at like tryouts where all the coaches are picking their teams, I was in like B minor or something like. It was where they were pitching. We weren't using the pitching machine, but we're pitching, but we're not at like the biggest level yet.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, I think
Over
B
here,
minor,
that's-
A minor, then majors. Or
Yeah.
whatever. So I was in B minor, and I had a great tryout, like
Oh.
deceivingly good. And
Baula.
so I got picked for like one of the top teams in the little league, and it was like a coach who cared a lot about winning. And then when I joined his team, he realized like, oh, this is the talent level that he's actually at. So I rode the bench all season. But what would happen is, and this is the story I tell, I like would sit on the bench and just drink Gatorade and eat sunflower seeds.
Yeah.
Which would make
That's
me
the dream.
more thirsty. And
Yeah.
when you have like a like coach who cares about winning and he's like too intense for like 8-year-olds, he's like, nobody uses the bathroom during a game, which is fine if you're playing because you're like sweating and things like that. But when all you're doing is eating seeds and drinking Gatorade, you become just like, it's like I'm filled to the brim. And I was just like, I had to go to the bathroom so bad. And I'm wearing my cup, and there's something in my like little kid brain that was like, if I pee just a little bit at a time,
Yeah, it'll fill up.
then it doesn't count as peeing my pants. So what I would do is I'd pee a little bit on the bench, then scooch over on the bench, and then scooch over all the way down.
That's a smart
All the
tactic.
way down the bench, and the guys would come back in and be like, "Why is the bench all warm and wet?" I don't know, guys. And then my little kid brain was like, "Okay, there's probably a wet spot or something on me, so I don't want people to know." And the only time I had to worry about walking out was to hit, you know? So what I would do is like trip or something and slide on the ground because I'm like, I'll cover it with dirt.
Yeah.
All that it did was make it more prevalent because it was a dirty wet spot
Big brain.
now.
Oh,
That was my
big
baseball
brain. Big brain tactic right
career,
there.
bro. That was my baseball career.
So, have you always grown up in La Palma? Is that where you're?
Yeah, essentially. So I was born in Terre Haute, Indiana.
Oh,
Is this like a good spot for the mic, by the way? I've just been like going
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah, you're good.
It's
Okay.
it's honestly him.
I have a loud voice too, so.
No, you're good.
Do you know where French Lick, Indiana is?
I mean, my family probably does.
Oh.
Like, it doesn't sound familiar to me, but I was born in Terre Haute, Indiana, which is like an hour outside of Indianapolis. That's where my dad's from Indiana, my mom's from Ohio. They met in college in Springfield, Missouri. And then when I was a kid, my dad traveled he's a singer. He was in this like Southern gospel
Wow.
trio with my aunt and uncle. And they traveled like sort of like SCU does for SAGU. They're a worship team for the college and stuff.
mm-hmm.
My parents were that for Central Bible College, which doesn't exist anymore. But so they would travel even when I was like a baby. And so then when I was about like 3, they were like, we can't do this anymore. He became a worship pastor at an inner city church in Chicago. We were
Ain't
the
no way. Ain't no way.
only white family there.
Ain't no way.
And he was the choir director. And so like it gave my like people who meet my dad now and like especially when they hear him preach or when he starts getting into like worship, they're like, man, you can't be fully white. Like because it's just like, but he gave us that. And we were only there for a year. We went from Chicago to here in Southern California when I was like 5. And at La Palma, he became the worship pastor. Years later, he became the lead pastor. And so it's the church. That's where I grew up.
So you grew up in church. You're a church kid, eh?
I'm a pastor's kid, church
Wow.
kid. That's all I know.
Was there ever a moment where, if you're comfortable with sharing, that you ever fell away from like being a church kid and kind of like went your own route and experience what's like of the world? You don't have to get in detail
No,
if you don't want, but
That's a good question. The short answer is no. The longer answer is like I went to private school through like all of elementary school when I was peeing on benches and stuff.
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I've talked about this before, but the school at the time when I was there didn't have like it ended in 6th grade. So I went to public school in junior high, which was really where like rubber met the road and like the testing of my faith became real. And in junior high, I was awkward. I was chubby. I had no real chance of sinning because nobody was offering me drugs. No girls wanted to hook up with me. And I was still like very afraid of my parents. And in high school is when that really started to teeter. Like the fear of my parents wasn't enough for me. And I really had to start to make my own decisions. On top of that, I was in youth and I loved youth ministry, but I was going through this like every junior high and high school, I was figuring out who I was, but also comparing myself to everybody else. And my church friends were doing this thing that a lot of church kids do, where they play a role at youth group, and then when we got to school, they switched up. And that always I I didn't like that. It felt so fake and disingenuous, and like, so what I did was I became friends with a group of kids who weren't in church at all. Like, they were the bad kids, the pothead, like party kids, and I didn't share anything with them in like the way that they live their life. I just liked that they were real. They weren't pretending like they were something they weren't.
Wow.
But I still at the same time was like, well, all my friends are doing this. Am I the one who got this wrong? Like, is this just what people... Because even when I would sit in church and hear people's testimony, oftentimes it was always, you know, I went through this time where, I smoked weed. I hooked up and so I was like, well, if that just seems like it's the way it is. Am I the one who's got this wrong?
Mm-hmm.
And I had a moment sophomore year where because I got invited... It switched freshman year. I started to slim out. I was in the popular group, which was everything I ever dreamed of. I was getting invited to parties. There was a party after a football game, and I remember my friends would just lie to their parents and be like, "We're going to In-N-Out," or stuff like that. And I was like, I'll just, you know what? I'm gonna just do it. I'm gonna lie to my parents. I built up all this trust, but who cares? I'm gonna do what they're doing. And I had a moment. I was in my room, and I didn't hear God speak audibly, but it's like I might as well have. Because I felt God say to me, like, what are you doing? And this is really the turning point in my faith becoming my own. I felt him kind of say to me, you have what they're looking for. Because my group of friends were like always together. I remember specifically they hung out on Thanksgiving.
Oh, wow.
Which
I know.
No, crazy, right? But the reason is they didn't have any real like solid home life. A lot of them, their parents were split up or like on drugs or, you know, whatever. So they like the only sense of family and community they had was with each other. And so I remember being with my own family, a healthy family, looking at all them together and being like, man, that's the dream. I want to be with them. And I just remember feeling this so strongly. You have what they're looking for. Why would you settle for a counterfeit when you've already experienced the real thing?
Wow.
And I'm telling you, that was the turning point for me. Everything changed. And so, like, I know this was a really long answer to your question, but
no, I
didn't walk. It was a crossroad moment where I was like, I'm either going to go this way. And I think ultimately I knew I'd still end up.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like I didn't believe in God but I was just sort of like, well, I think why not do both? That's what everyone else does. And I was just like, I couldn't. It was kind of like the Matrix, you know? You take...
The pills?
Yeah, which one is it?
Red and blue?
Which one, like, opens your mind?
I think it's the blue.
Yeah. I don't ever know either. No. I don't ever know.
Yeah.
You took the... Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, because you see all the memes. Of course, you know this,
yeah,
right?
What a nerd.
But that's how I've always felt. Even as an adult, even, like, in moments... where I don't feel the goosebumps. I don't feel like God's spoken to me in a long time. I have this real like sense of my eyes have been opened, a sense of revelation to where I couldn't go back even if I wanted to. And I have wanted to. I couldn't turn away from this even if I tried, because I'm acutely aware of how empty and fake and counterfeit and fleeting everything the world has to offer. Substance, relationship, popularity, all, you know, whatever, you go down the list, promotion, it's all a counterfeit version of what you're ultimately looking for. And so no, I didn't like follow the road of like every other pastor kid, but or not every other, but like a lot. But I could have.
I feel like it was really nice for you to have that moment so early on, you know, like at least you're a sophomore, because the way that I interpret as someone from the outside of your life, everything happened to you at such an early age, like becoming the youth pastor. How old were you when you
became? I was 18 when I became the youth pastor. And it's funny you mentioned that, because that like it's a part of my whole journey and my whole story and why I love youth ministry. Because I say this a lot, like I love God's story of redemption in people's life. I was just at an event a couple of days ago with a lot of like teen challenge people. And just sitting and hearing their stories of like, they've done every drug, they've been in the system, but God like brought them out of that and redeemed them. It's beautiful. But I also know from my own story, and this is what we don't hear a lot, is that it is possible to not try all those things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's why I love youth ministry. I'm a proponent of sooner rather than later. Like, I believe that a junior hire could enter into what they were created for and start walking that out now.
Let's
and
go.
they don't. It's I'm not trying to get like preach a sermon, but this is,
Yeah,
this is my
yeah.
heart. It's like this is what I'm passionate about, and I do believe like God doesn't love. And this is another area that I had to work through because of my testimony. I felt like God loved me more than He loved the other people, my friends who played the double game. You know, I had an entitlement that I had to work through. Because I was like, you know, like you hear about people who come and share their testimony and they're like, I heard verses like God so loved the world. And I felt like it applied to everybody in the room except for me. I never related to that. I was like, if God loves anybody in this room, it better be me.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's nice.
Because my friends are having fun. Like, they're living the life. They're like, I was very much in the prodigal son story, the older son, who was like, I've been here this whole time. And they're throwing a party for the, you know, like I was this older prodigal son who was like, I never did all that. And I realized like God doesn't love me anymore because of my testimony, but there is this like me starting this at an early age set me up for success earlier. Even like think of a great example is my marriage. Me and my wife have a similar testimony, very different journeys to get there, but like we're the only people we ever date, and this wasn't the goal. It just happened this way. We're not like the Duggars or you know like something weird. But I tell my testimony a lot, not a lot, but sometimes I felt weird about it because I'm like, oh, it's kind of churchy and weird. But I like telling it now because I think students need to understand it is possible. Because a lot of times the only example they hear of stuff like this is like that hyper Christian weird person. And they're like, well, I'm not them. And I'm not that. But me and my wife, we are the only people we ever dated. We're each other's only kiss. We were virgins when we got married. And like, that is such an incredible thing and a gift to our marriage that we don't have this extra baggage. Because like God can redeem and there is forgiveness, but with our sin and the things that we do, there is like oftentimes consequence, and there's baggage that we take in because of the decisions we made. So that's a big thing for me, is helping students understand is like you don't have God loves you so much and wants you to enter into this. You don't have to deal with all that extra stuff, you know.
Dude, you hearing this, happy campers, man? Tune in.
So good.
What about? I feel like Pastor Brian, how did you grow up? Were you no, you weren't a pastor's kid, huh?
No, pastor's kid for me.
Where'd you come from? Let's hear it. Now, while we're on it.
All right. Well,
just our two pastors.
Two pastors.
Let's hear. I just want to hear from the other one now. Let's see how. Because this is the other side of the spectrum. I think it's like there's two different. There's pastor's kid, youth pastor, and then there's
not even close, man. Of course, I was scared of my dad. My dad, if you did drugs, I'll kill you kind of mentality. So I was like, I ain't doing any of that. So I kind of stayed away from all that. But man, I kind of grew in and out of church. My mom tried to get us in when we were kids, but she was a single mom at the time and constantly going in and out. So I knew something about God, but man, my theology was all messed up. But honestly, God didn't really start making a big connection until about like freshman, sophomore year of high school, where I was kind of going through, real big struggle and just depression. Kind of got a little bullied because of my heritage. If you guys want to know, I'm German and Hungarian and Austrian, which is the three world powers from World War One, but we're Californians, so everyone thinks World War II. So, in high school, they tended to bully me and say, oh, killing Jews lately, that kind of mentality. So kind of skewed my own viewpoint, say, man, I'm just a terrible person. Clearly everyone hates me. It kind of got me to a point where I was even thinking about suicide. But what's crazy, and this is why I love youth ministry so much, is during my darkest points, my grandma tried out a new church, loved it so much, got my mom to come to this church. She loved it so much, she forced me to go to this church. And at first I was kind of like, I was really hesitant. Like, I was not going to church at all. I'm not doing this. And finally my mom's like, okay, listen, the youth is going to have a game night. I want you to go, and if you go and have a great time. Keep on going. If not, I'll never ask you to go to church ever again. And of course, as a teenager, I'm like, I'm going to lie to you straight up and just never have to go again. But I'll never forget, it was actually at this church. We went downstairs into the cafeteria where they had a whole bunch of different, it was like a board game nights. And I walk in and there's teenagers, and I'll never forget, her name was Rachel, and it was a purely platonic expression. But she gave me my first true compliments, where she complimented my eyes. And for me, I didn't get that much compliments growing up, so for me that was a huge thing. And for the first time, I started feeling what it really feels like to have a family, to feel loved and to be accepted. And literally at the end, I was having a great time being welcomed in. And so that following Wednesday, they asked if I wanted to come to youth group. I was like, yeah, I'll go. And I go in, and literally my life was transformed right there, because I came to know Jesus through friends. And so with youth ministry, that's all it is. It's friendship culture.
Yeah, it's good.
You know, bring your friends to know Jesus. You know, and that's what it is. So.
Wow, it's a crazy story, PV, huh?
Yeah.
It's crazy how often we take for granted a lot of things, though, because I've gotten plenty of compliments, and honestly, it got to the point where I didn't really take it in a genuine way. Like, if someone were to compliment my eyes on the first night of youth ministry, I would have just been like, all right, they're only brown. I mean, I don't really, but it's really genuine. But on the other side of the spectrum, what for us as only leaders, that's not, I'm not downgrading us or anything. I'm part of this. What kind of brings you guys back to youth every Wednesday? Like, what's your guys' end mission? Like, why are you guys invested into youth rather than PV asking us to come on board? Like a deeper meaning.
Well, a more deeper meaning for me would be like, growing up, I didn't have a youth ministry. I didn't have a youth group. It was like 2 kids my age, and one of them was my cousin. I always like saying that. But like, so it wasn't like I didn't have a youth group. And then I started coming to this church and saw like what happens here and how much like family means to everyone, how everyone is just like friends with each other. And I realized, you know, kind of going on the other side of things where like you take the wrong path. I realized like I don't want to see these kids go down that wrong path. I don't want to see these kids, you know, take a wrong turn and end up 1,000 miles from here doing drugs or whatever it may be. I want to see them here, you know, getting built up. So that's what keeps me coming here every Wednesday.
And I thank you for that.
I say like basically the same thing, but like with me, I grew up like in church. Like this guy knew me when I was little. I don't even remember him barely, but I did the whole.
You remember his eyes though, right?
Oh yeah, those things were glowing
he came back.
bright.
She's like, you're the guy with nice eyes.
You're the guy with the crystal blue eyes. But I did the whole Sunday school before kids church and Sunday school before youth, and I was here like all the time, but it never like really like clicked until like a few years ago, when like I started bringing him and things started getting like better and stuff. But basically it's like when we became youth leaders and we started getting to know a lot of these kids and giving them rides, going to their games, like learning about them, learning about the families they don't have. It's like you build these relationships and you have them open up, and it's like, how could you not come back? Because like, and knowing like a lot of them, they don't have people like how they have here, people who want to hear about their day or want to hear about how they're doing. They just go home, get nothing, and then go back, do the same thing over and over again. So it's like you have these kids finally open up to you, or even if they don't, there's like a possibility of maybe they will to you, and it's like, how could you not come back? So yeah,
I feel like that's really good, coming from a story like that, though, to bounce off of that. How do you guys kind of reach that kid who's been through it all, you know, like from A to Z, he's been through it all, you know, broken home, broken family, you know, just doing every drug under the sun, coming from someone like me and like everyone here, like, well, I don't know any of you guys' personal life, but you know how like hard it is to relate to someone like that if you've never been in their shoes like that, you know, like you don't.
I understand what you're saying, but like one thing I've said a lot in youth ministry is I don't have to know what your problem is to know where your solution is found. And I think like that's where my confidence comes from. Like honestly, it's sort of been foundational
Mhm.
statement in youth ministry, because those thoughts can come in, but ultimately our ultimate example is Jesus, and I'm like, Jesus is God. But you look throughout Jesus' ministry, he ate with sinners, but he didn't sin. And so that's a big lie from the enemy, I believe. Like, the enemy doesn't like to lie to us straight out. He likes to pervert the truth.
Yeah.
And he's been doing that since the beginning of time. And so a big thing, go back to 10th grade me, even being like, well, you got to kind of experience this to know, you know, like you got to try these things to know whether you like it or not. Like, and that's just wrong. That's just outright not true. And it's not been true in ministry. Like, that's been an incredible thing, having served as a youth pastor at La Palma for 7 years. And then now in this new role that I'm in, just seeing that, like, there's so many kids that are dealing with things that I've never dealt with. I grew up in a home where my parents are together. Their parents, like, their parents, they're pastors. Like, I love and am so grateful for what I have. But I've got to minister to students who haven't walked down the same road that I've walked down, and I've not walked down the same road that they've walked down. And I think that's the thing about, like, being authentic, is I don't come in and try to be like, I know what it's like. Like, it's like those SoundCloud rappers who are like, I grew up in the gutter, and it's like, bro, you grew up in a gated community.
We're neighbors,
What are
bro.
you talking about? And it's like, no matter how good their rhymes are or how, like, dope their beats are, you could just tell it's like, that's not real. And I think when you speak from a place of authenticity, students respect that. I mean, that's the thing I've noticed, even just seeing your guys' youth ministry with Pastor Brian, is like, he's not trying to be something he's not. And I think that's what draws you guys in. It's what draws students in. And it's honestly what I love about him is, in a world where, like, so many youth pastors are trying to be apart from his eyes, obviously his eyes. In a world where youth pastors are trying to be versions of this thing, you know, I think he's a great example of, like, dude, just be authentic, and students are drawn in. And then too, this is the beauty of leaders, and, like, God brings in leaders, because there is something special about a student hearing from a leader who said, yeah, dude, I struggled with addiction too when I was a student, and it led me, like, it's this example of the pit, you know, of not just telling students how to get out of it, but someone saying, I was in that pit, here's how I got out of it. Like, it does just hold a different weight. And so, like, that's the beauty of the body of Christ.
Yeah.
You know, we need each other. We can't just do this alone. But yeah, that's my answer to your question.
Yeah. Hey, you know. All right. So you two are both pretty, I'd say, above average. Not patting you guys on the back or anything. Youth pastors, but I've always wondered, whenever we bring a guest on, and I've never even asked you before, PB, which is my bad, but who is, like, someone that you guys look up to, like, that kind of guided your guys' youth pastoring career, you know? And this is in no specific order. You guys could rock, paper, scissors, but I'm just picking apart your guys' brain for everyone wondering out there.
Yeah.
I got it first.
Well, so obviously for me, Gary Garcia has
I know.
been a huge.
I would
The truth is, I didn't know Gary until after high school. Really, it was like it's once I realized the call to ministry on my life, and again felt called to youth ministry specifically, which is still what I feel. I hope to do this for the rest of my life, in whatever capacity that it'll still be youth ministry, because I go back to that moment of revelation as a 10th grader. And that's, like, what I'm the most passionate about. It's what I pray when I go to youth groups. It's like, I don't want to just be funny or say something that people are like, oh, that's tweetable. I want there to be one student in here at least who walks away with revelation. Like, that they'll come back to this night and be like, man, I just can't see things. I've read this scripture my whole life, but there's a moment of revelation that happened and I can't unsee it. And so, like, Gary, I met him at camp, and he was telling me at that point he'd been a youth pastor at the same place for over 2 decades. Now he's 30 years. And that's just unheard of. Not just that long in youth ministry, but at the same church. And I said, that's the type of legacy I want. And so let
Yeah.
me get around that person. And this is what I'd say too to like listeners or whoever, like, once you realize that type of stuff, we're so, I don't know, like mystical, or like God, come and give someone and let them pray over me exactly what I'm thinking. And God answers those prayers sometimes, but also like when you know that, like I could have played this game with God of like, God, I want to be like Gary. I want you to have him come and talk to, and he could have done that, but I knew that that's the type of anointing I wanted on my life. So I went and I said, hey, nice to meet you. My name is Elliot. I'm a junior getting ready to be a senior. And then that relationship blossomed, and I interned for him, and both of us think right before we get on stage at camp, or like there's moments at conventions where we look at each other, we're just like, man, who would have thought like that we'd be here getting to do this with teenagers. Like, it's just crazy the way that God works. So Gary's a big one, but also I think people assume Gary, and I mean, he's shaped my life in an immense way, but I wouldn't be who I am or where I am if it weren't for my youth pastor, Pastor Dave Lutz. And he's like, he wasn't trendy, he wasn't the most like dynamic speaker in the world, he didn't have a good social media presence. We didn't have this massive youth ministry that like, you know, was influencing people were like, man, oh, but he just like loved me. I remember sitting in his car, going on rides with him, going into his office, like, and there was a specific moment as a youth pastor where I felt like I wanted to give up. It was just like times got tough, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I went back to my times with Pastor Dave.
Wow.
And I was just like, it's not about all the things I've made it. It's just about loving students and building relationship with students. And he was my youth pastor when I felt called to ministry. I love Gary, and I wouldn't be where I am today without Gary. But I think Gary's like the obvious thing that people think of for me, and it's true. But like Pastor Dave's somebody nobody knows really. Yeah. But
except for us now.
But he changed my life, man, and like that, just local youth ministry, loving the group of students that you've got, no matter how many are there, because we didn't have a big youth ministry. There's probably like 15 of us to 20 of us week to week. But he wasn't concerned about that. He just loved us and shaped me, and like, yeah. So Pastor Dave is a huge one.
On top of that, that's like what you enforce a lot too, you know, not a lot of necessarily moments like on Wednesdays. It's like every day other than Wednesday. Yeah, and that's what we kind of try to create. This guy taught us, you know, like we realize they remember when we go to like their games or when they're in our cars too, just like that. And that's kind of like confirmation right there, because no matter how cool they are, they'll never tell us that, but I know that deep down they remember that, huh?
No, it makes a difference for sure.
That's it, man. It's so funny that you say that, because my biggest role model, one that's shaped everything about me, is my youth pastor, Pastor Daniel. Yeah. And man, because I'm not gonna tell you, I was a weird kid. I was a super weird kid, you know, don't really have much of a social construct. Even now, it's hard for me to really interact. And how many times have I missed a high five, or, you know, just make it really awkward? They go for a handshake or the hug. I don't know. But man, this guy, no matter how awkward I got, he loved on me. He spent time discipling me, and he treated me just like everyone else, which was something that I was craving the most. And so he showed me, you know, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're cool or not cool or somewhere way beyond that. If that's someone that can be impacted by Jesus, let's go for it. That's good, man. And so from there, that's what I've been incorporating. So, yeah, and of course, there's always other people, but that is definitely. And I think it's so important that it's youth pastors, the unsung heroes, you know, the local youth pastors.
Yeah, and being that type of youth pastor, like, and I know it can be kind of like cliche for me to say this, because I get to be on stage at camp and convention, but really it is, and I can't stress this enough, not about the stage. Like, and I think about as youth pastors, our goal really is to impact people's lives and maybe never get credit for it. Do you know what I'm saying? I think like that is ultimately what youth ministry is about. And it's changed from that, but I think it's getting back to that. because I think a lot of people were drawn to youth ministry because they're like, this is a cool way to get people to follow me on Instagram or to go speak places. And as a guy who gets to go and speak places, I can tell you, like, it's just like, the stage does not matter if you don't have any relational equity. Like, if you're not building those relationships week in and week out, and that's what I like about going to a place, and this happens all the time, like, because really the only kids who care about who I am have gone to camp or convention. Like,
you're the celebrity.
Yeah, this guy's a celebrity.
In those two contexts, it's a big deal. But also, like, I understand that because I went to camp and convention and I saw people on stage. I'm like, that's the cool that's part of the reason Gary and I are, like, so committed to, like, going to different youth ministries week in and week out, is because we know that there are certain kids who see that as a big deal, and I don't ever want to use that for my own benefit, and be like, follow me on it, like, I want to be able to come to your youth group and you'd be like, you're the guy from camp, and be like, yeah, and also I love your youth ministry, I love your youth pastor, I love what you're doing here, because I think that makes such a difference. But yeah, dude, I think that's why I like what you guys are doing here. You can just tell when something's healthy. Mm-hmm. I think we make, like, the metric of health oftentimes is just how many people show up.
Yep.
Yeah. And numbers are important because every number is an individual, right? Like numbers matter, but, like, what matters more is what we're doing healthy. Yeah. Is what we're doing have a good culture, and I think that's what you guys have here, and it's what makes PB. That's what they call it, bro. PB. I like it. That's what makes PB such a good youth pastor. Is, like, it's not all the things that people have made youth ministry out to be. It's just that heart for students, and I think more people need to get back to that, man. Like I think that's why I like being around you, because it reminds me of, like, why I got into youth ministry, because youth ministry can become so many things it's not supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And it's people like you who keep me rooted in, like, man, this is what it's about. It's about your students and your leaders championing you and loving you, and, like, I don't know, you guys just have something really cool. It's why I would drive out here in the middle of the night to do this, because it's like it genuinely is so cool to be around,
Yeah. Thanks for being here too, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Again.
Thank you.
Yeah,
but so good right now.
But I mean it. I'm not just saying it because there's cameras on and I have a mic in front of me.
Yeah.
Like, I do mean it, bro. Like, I think there's something so special about that. Like, just being authentic, not trying to be a version of a youth pastor, just being called to youth ministry, being yourself, and seeing the culture you're cultivating here.
Yeah.
Special.
All right. So, well, quickly, I just wanted to say, I thought you were going to say Jeannie Bayo, but you said Pastor Daniel.
Did you do her?
I did do the cadre as well.
Bro.
Yeah.
And let me tell you all my little secrets.
My youth pastor,
phrases and everything are from there.
Pastor Dave went to the cadre.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah. It's great. But literally, my local youth pastor, hero above heroes in my mind.
Oh, right. Hopefully he watches it. That'd be crazy if he watches
Pastor
it.
Daniel, if you're watching this, bro, that's cool.
Yeah. All right. But, on this podcast out there, we have questions in our bio that sometimes we would like people to ask, as outsiders that may have curiosity about what we do here at Cabin Time. Won't leak the church.
Dude, also, I love that you guys called this Cabin Time.
Yeah.
Dude. That's one of the first things when I started seeing you guys reposting it. I was like, what is this? And then I was like, oh, I understood what it was. And I'm like, I love that they called it Cabin Time. Because, like,
wow, I didn't even realize that.
Cool. I know, I forgot. I was waiting for one of you guys to be on this podcast so I could be like, hey, you know why we call it Cabin Time? And it slipped my mind.
I love it.
But basically, for all of you guys out there, Cabin Time was like a segment in camp after service to reflect and kind of have that deep talk. And a podcast, we want to have some deep talk. But like I said, we do have some questions in the bio. If you guys have any questions, make sure to click on our bio and ask them. But I think we have 3 more this week, huh?
We do. And They're pretty good questions. I'm not gonna lie.
The way we're gonna go about this, we're gonna make it kind of fun. It's gonna be like Jeopardy because I know all of us. There's a lot of us.
So do we have to answer what is?
I was just gonna say you gotta go bzz before you answer, and whoever makes their bzz first.
Honestly,
wins.
I really want to know the answer to this one because even I'm curious. So, this one: is it a sin to kill someone if you're in the army?
Oh, that's a theology
Yeah.
kind of thing.
That's
that
Wait,
one.
pastors.
Dang, bro.
No, wait. Okay. I'm stepping in as the host. I want you to answer this because you're wearing green.
Yeah,
you
me
look like
too,
a
bro.
soldier.
Alright,
You
bro.
look like a soldier right now, my
That's
guy.
where my master's in theology comes in.
Yeah, come on.
All right, so so the question was, is it a sin to kill someone on the battlefield, which is the military? Because obviously in the Bible this has happened multiple times. In fact, David, a man after God's own heart, has killed his tens of thousands. So technically he's killed. And while there's so many different ways that it's arguing, it really comes down to is when you're in the military, especially when you're doing something, the Israelites or whatever, there's a rules of engagement. Long story short, technically it's not a sin to kill. In essence, it's really hard to describe because it's not murder. Murder is the destruction, which is hate in your heart and you want to destroy. Well, obviously we're supposed to live our lives in peace, as much as able to live in peace. And this is something that we're probably all going to struggle with for the rest of our lives. I know I struggle with this when I go to heaven. One of the first things I'm going to ask Jesus is, hey, man, so what was the real answer on this? Because I don't actually know. But
So what I think this question is coming from, since we have a younger audience, it kind of seems like someone is like thinking about going to the military, and that's like on the back of their mind. Like, so what would you say to that person who wants to go into the military but is afraid of sinning because they might kill someone in the army?
Well, I would say this: you are defending the country, you're defending your family, you're defending your friends. Now, obviously, you have a conscience and you have the Holy Spirit. That's the biggest part. You have the Spirit in you that leads you and directs you. And I guarantee you, if you're not supposed to do something, he is going to tell you, he's going to direct you, and you follow that above everything else. But according to many theologians, it is not a sin to defend yourself. Just like if someone comes into your household to attack or harm you, you are going to defend yourself, and it might be with lethal force. But it would not be sin in that case because it is defense. And so with that logic and that understanding, therefore, because otherwise, now obviously there is also blood on your hands and blah, 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 blah. But as of technicality, murder, thou shalt not murder. No. But that's I'm sure some masters of theology or doctorate of theology will come and set me straight.
I think it's okay. You're just protecting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't really know where to go with that one because I'm not a master's in theology. But, I think God sees our hearts.
Yeah.
Though.
Yes. Yes.
I think a different answer to the question is if you look at the church historically and you look at theologians and you look at the church's stance on this, there is more of an argument of being for it than against it. You can definitely find theologians who would argue the opposite, just like with so many different issues. And I think this is what PB was getting at, was discernment. But I even appreciate the heart of asking this question because it's a thing most people just don't think about. It's just kind of
this guy was pondering.
It's it's American. Of course it's okay, but it's it is worth asking those questions and thinking about it and digging deep for those answers. I mean, that question makes me want to look into some of those things that I've read briefly about, because I don't, I'm I don't feel equipped to answer this. But it makes me want to dive deeper into the different schools of thought and not just what people think, but what Scripture has to say. And there's a lot of backing in Scripture for it. So anyways, yeah.
You have any thoughts on?
Okay, I
Those
think.
are good.
Let's hear that second question then.
Okay.
Dude,
Oh, wait.
that's the first question.
That's kind of scary.
Time out.
Gracious.
Also, for all of you who might be a bit too shy to ask, there isn't an anonymous button, all right? So you can ask, and we won't see who you are, all right?
But we
Yeah.
enjoy the tough questions.
Well, we'll put it this way: every person who's asked a question ever, it's been anonymous. So
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go.
ask away.
Hot
Let's
dog.
go.
Okay, so both of them. One of them I kind of know where this will head, so I'll do the other one. Well, it was when is the world going to end? I mean, that's a pretty quick.
Oh, whoa.
Well,
I,
mean,
all
a
I
lot
think
people
of,
might
all
know.
I think
Tomorrow.
of is that
Joking.
that part of The Office where Jim is messing with Dwight because Dwight has all his like food that he's been storing up, and Jim's like, "Could it be tomorrow? It could. Could it be next week? That's a real possibility. Could it be in a year? Yeah, I could see that happening. It's kind of like that. Like
Yeah. We don't
no
know.
man knows the
Yeah.
day or the time.
I can't tell you.
That's it.
Be ready.
Yep.
Yep.
Read Revelation.
Yeah, that's a good answer for you.
Live
There you
your
go.
life as if today is it.
The last
Yeah.
day.
Mm.
Okay,
dude.
so-
Okay, speaking of this though, this is a funny story. So when I was a kid, a pastor's kid, obviously, my biggest fear was getting left behind in the rapture.
Oh my God.
I think that's
I watched the Left Behind movies.
Oh, those are crazy.
So I was like, oh, dude, I'm definitely getting left behind. And so I was like, so scared of that all growing
Yeah.
up. And my parents knew it. And one day, I came home from school. I was like, I had to be like 11 or 12.
Mm-hmm.
So I came home from school, and everybody was supposed to be home because they're always home.
Oh,
So,
no.
Yeah, so you kind of know where this is going. But I'm like, hey guys, I'm home, and nobody says anything. I'm like, okay, maybe Mom, Dad, I'm home.
Oh,
Nobody
no.
said anything. So I'm starting to like,
Forget.
I'm checking the bathrooms. I'm like, no, Mom, and I'm getting more like frantic. And so I run into their. I'm knocking on their door because I'm not supposed to just go into their room, but nobody's answering. So I go into their room, and I find their clothes laid out, like their shoes
Oh,
with their socks and
no.
their pants and their watch, like and the like glasses, all of it just laid out as if the rapture happened in their clothes. And so I just start crying, and then they were just hiding, and they come out laughing. And that's like trauma, bro. But like,
For real though.
but no, that was like what my parents would do. But I was like, I was just a scared kid, unreasonably scared. Like when we went on planes, you know how your ears get like clogged up. I
Yeah.
thought I was going deaf.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my mom, rather than like, I think she would just get sick of me being like, Mom, am I okay? Or whatever. And so she would do this thing. She did this before where I'm like, Mom, my ears. And she starts going like, just mouthing. Just like, and I could still hear like the background noise and everything, but she's mouthing to me. And I
played with you.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I need to see a therapist, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you guys ever feel like when there's like an earthquake in the middle of the night here? Do you guys ever think it happened?
Dude, I would like
Oh, man,
I would like
yes.
go and check. Like when I was a kid, I would like make sure. Like I would go and check and see if my mom was still there, and if she was, I'd be like, let me just make sure my dad is. Just, like because my mom
Yeah.
was pranking me, so I'm like, she could have got left behind too.
Yeah,
So I was
we
like,
both got
let me
left
make
behind.
sure my dad's here. He's a pastor. And if he was still there, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
we're good. But dude, I was like, yeah, I was jacked up.
I just find my first baby.
Yeah,
That
for
was
real.
kind of-
Yeah.
Like, I definitely, like, growing up in church, I knew what that was. Like, the rapture and everything, so I knew it was going to happen. So I was kind of in the same boat. I was scared. I was like, uh-oh. But I have a special needs sister. So, like, babies and, like,
Yeah, that
they automatically go to
accountability
heaven.
thing,
Yeah.
yeah.
So whenever something like that would happen, like, in the middle of the night or something, like, I wouldn't even run to my
Yeah.
parents' room. I'd run to her and be like, are you still there?
Yeah, exactly.
And I'd be
dude.
like, okay, she's still there. We're okay.
Dude, how crazy is that all of us like church kids with that like left behind era all grew up with the same trauma.
All right, so I think we hit about an hour. I think.
It's up to you, man.
Well, was that all three? Wait, did we
No,
ask
we
three
have one.
There
questions?
was one more question.
Oh,
We have
oh,
one more.
Keith,
I just
Keith,
went on that
Tell me
story.
why I thought we asked three.
All right. Coming from someone, how do you guys find God in difficult times? Like when I'm mad or upset, it feels impossible to seek God.
Oh man, what is that like? So much. That happens to
amazing
me
youth
so much
leaders.
too. I know. I'm guilty of that. But when I have my head screwed on straight, I like to breathe. I do box breathing. Yeah, if you guys know what that is, it's where you breathe in for 3, hold it for 3, breathe out for 3, hold it for 3.
breaks a box.
Yeah. And like,
What?
there's like a point in
Never heard
time
of
where I
that.
get so mad that literally I felt my blood boil before. Like my heart beats so fast that I'm like, but when I start box breathing, it feels like it all got like, and then I kind of like get some clarity out of that. But I don't know, it's different for everyone. I mean, what does everyone else do other than box breathing?
Well, I
That
mean,
wasn't a very
not to be the
Bible answer.
cliche guy, but worship, man.
Mm.
Worship is my escape lease. Like, throw on some music, headphones, go outside for a walk or whatever, and just kind of, while I'm worshiping, crying out to God, screaming at God sometimes. Because, God can take it. God can handle your emotions. Thank you, Jesus, for that, too.
Yeah.
But, sometimes when you're frustrated, when you're stressed out, it's best to just vent to God so that you're talking to him and he will respond. The whole point of reading the Bible is so when we go through these situations, the Spirit will bring back what you read back so you can be encouraged or lifted up or, whatever it's needed. So when life gets tough, worship it out.
Mm.
Yeah, I go there. If I'm driving, for sure, I wouldn't need to box breathe. I'd just be like, I'm by myself in here. I could bump it. Do you guys ever worship? Like, you guys ever sing the songs like when no one's looking?
Dude.
Yes.
I'm like, dang, I know we leave it all out there, but sometimes I'm like, I would bug the person next to me for sure. I'm like,
I would say even the framing of the question, they say, how do you find God when you're upset or things are going on? Like, I think, and I'm not trying to like be nitpicky about words, but like words do matter.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big way that a lot of us think, but like God doesn't need to be found by us. Like he's always there with us. And I know that it sounds like, oh, I tricked you, but that's not what I'm trying to do. Like, it does. That's frames a lot of the way we think, because I think in those times where we don't feel God or we're upset or we feel far from God, we feel like God is far from us, but that is not the case. Like God is constantly
That's right.
with us and chasing after us. And so I think like I like that you guys went with a practical answer. And for me, obviously all those things you guys said, I do as well. But one thing I would do a lot, and even like on the drive here, like driving is a big time for me where I just like have some time on my own, and easily I could just like put on a podcast or music or distract myself. One thing that I did a lot, I've not done it as much recently, but I would, because I am an overthinker, if you can't tell from some of the stories I've told and everything. I've always been like I'm so much of an overthinker. I've done this thing and other people have done it, but it's like as a kid I would start to overthink, and then I would become aware of my thinking. And you ever think about the fact that you're thinking, bro?
Yes.
That'll trip you out, dog. And so yeah, that's how I can tell if you have anxiety. And so I like would think about that. I'm thinking, and so anyways, I would just like, even praying, I would overthink it. But one thing that worked for me is I would just drive and I would talk as if God was just like sitting next to me, and I would even verbalize how weird it was. I would be driving and I say, God, I know you already know what I'm thinking. I know this is kind of weird, but just hear me out. And then I just start talking, and I would, like you said, I would voice my frustration. I would voice the things that I was concerned about. I would, talk about the things that I wanted. And then as I matured in my faith, I realized like God isn't just there for me to be able to vent to. A lot of the things that helped me were also just focusing on him and how good he was, and reminding me of myself of that, verbalizing that. God, thank you. Like anytime I pray, when I pray at church or whenever, I always start with, God, thank you. Because I think we forget about that, just being thankful for who God is and his character. And that's helpful because it is a foundation for everything else that we're about to talk about or think about. And I think just reminding myself, because there is more time now where I personally don't feel this like overwhelming sense of God's presence all the time, but I know it's there. And so I live that way. And like I said, I've had this revelation where I just can't go back. Even if I tried, like he's too good and he's too real. And the things that the world has to offer, like what is the alternative to the person asking this question? Like a substance,
Yep.
just distracting yourself.
Yeah.
And you can, and that's the thing. We live in an era of like easy distraction.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
And so I think just pausing from that and just even dealing with the feelings you're having. I love you talking about just breathing. You know, like that type of stuff is good, but just like having those moments and allowing God to actually heal our brokenness, you know? But all that, I said all of that because they said like to find God. We should seek God.
Yep.
The Bible's clear about that. Seek and you'll find. Like, because there is always more to know about God.
Yeah.
You know, like, and the more you know about God, the more you begin to trust God and like are able to give him everything, you know? So
yeah. I forgot. I well, not when I'm upset, kind of like every day when I take a shower. Little tip for you guys, I fold a towel on the toilet and make a nice comfortable seat. I'm like, I don't want the seat to be cold for you, God, while I'm in the shower. I literally fold it. I'm like, he's here for sure. I'm gonna fold this towel nice. Sometimes when I'm lazy and tired, I'll like throw it on the toilet. I'll be like, oh, that's good. I'm like, wait, no, he needs
This
a good
is for
seat,
God.
dude. I'm like, I gotta
that's
fold
very
it.
like
Yeah.
a kid leaving cookies
Yeah.
and like carrots for
Yeah.
reindeer, but I do like
Yeah.
I love the reverence
Yeah.
that you have. You're like,
I fold it every time.
God,
I'm
I've
like,
said this.
I'm like, this is your throne, your toilet
The
seat.
throne. Dude. Wow. But I like it's silly, but it is like in that's what I would say too. It's just like these moments, because we're like, I'm so busy, I don't have time, but you really do. You just take moments in your everyday routine because God is in that. Like that's the thing. Is like I think I preached about it when I was here, but like the Israelites would always start worshiping the idols of whatever nation that they were taken captive to because they thought God was still in Jerusalem. They didn't think he wasn't.
Oh,
he didn't
yeah.
exist. They just thought he was still in Jerusalem. And I think we do that all the time. We limit God to a building or a space or a camp or cabin time when God is with us in the mundane, everyday moments of life. And I think like that is the beautiful thing about the God that we serve is like he is the only God and he is with us everywhere at all times, in the good and the bad, when we feel the goosebumps and when we don't. And he is like constantly available.
Yep. You heard it here first. God's always available. Well, you probably didn't hear it here first, but you heard it here again.
Yeah.
But as you guys, go ahead.
Before we get to our challenge, is that where we're moving?
Yeah, that's where I was
Okay,
moving.
before we get to our challenge, can you explain to some of the viewers what SoCal Youth Alive is? And
Are we on the same pathway? I was gonna hand her the thing. No, because we have intermission while Sam gets like the challenge together and we like tie it up. and
There's
stuff. I was gonna say,
You mean like an actual challenge?
Yes.
yeah,
oh yeah,
Oh crap.
Here,
yeah.
I'm so
Okay,
sorry.
so
It's gonna be our first picture too.
Oh man.
yeah.
I'm so sorry.
So
Yeah,
want me to
can you
explain
plug
these
it for us?
I'm so distracted.
yeah. Sorry, there's a lot going on.
Technically, he has 2 challenges.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, yeah, Youth Alive is an initiative launched by the SoCal Network, and the idea is partnering with local churches to help students reach their campus. Like what it boils down to is we believe that God has called students to do more than just survive their junior high and high school experience, to do more than just attend. We really do believe that the God of the Bible is real and that he wants to use us, and that youth ministry isn't just a holding cell. It's a place where students realize their calling and walk in that, and that's what Youth Alive is about. And so, you know, that can be through starting clubs, right? That's where our brains go when we think of junior high and high school like ministry, but it's so much more than that. It's really just about students realizing their calling and stepping into that now. So that's what it's all about.
And sorry. Where can students out there who may have seen this find like how to get plugged in with
So
SoCal
our
Youth Alive?
Instagram is a huge way, because if you go to our Instagram, there's a link in the bio that will plug you in with other things like our Discord, where other students from across Southern California are communicating with each other. That's the one thing I love is our Discord, is because it's a place where all these students who wanted to reach their campus are like talking about wins, things that have been going good, asking for prayer. So yeah, our Instagram at SoCal Youth Alive.
All right,
Dope.
there you guys. You guys heard it here first. Is there some pretty dank memes in there, or is it just
So we're
business?
trying to kick it up. Like that's the goal is that students would be engaged in it, and that is a huge like dream of mine is that these students would just be, and when we're getting ready for camps or conventions, like posting their memes.
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah.
I want to start a SoCal like youth ministry meme page, and not so much I want to start it. I think we should have one, and I think I
Yeah.
have the perfect name for it. I think we should call it Piney. So that we
Yo! Let's go.
We could tag Piney and it like
Yep.
I think it'd be funny. So maybe at camper convention it'll
Yep.
happen, but
Yep. If you guys have
That'd be
dank memes,
fire.
get the reinforcements ready now, huh? Save it. All right, but today we will be showing you guys how to escape if you are ever.
Wait, is he doing his Snickle first?
Oh, do you want?
Or we can do it after?
Are
Yeah.
you
Okay.
allergic to nuts?
I'm so
I'm
sorry.
about to.
Can you eat pickles?
Okay, well,
No, well,
what's the context?
it's
of
our
this?
okay. So this is the context. So we did this challenge one week, and we're like, "Whoa, this should be like, you know how there's like a state food, state bird. This is like
Dude, I'm like, I'm having dinner after this.
no, but think about it. He was a youth pastor, so he's seasoned in this kind of stuff, right? Did you guys ever do crazy things?
So here's the thing, like honestly, like my stomach is turning right now because here's how I honestly view this. I feel like I did my time. So I will legitimately like tell youth pastors this when I go and speak of like, dude, I'm here to do more than speak. I'll help you set up chairs. I want to hang out with students, but I will not do a gross or spicy
okay.
dance.
Think about it.
Is it gross
it's
or spicy?
no. It's honestly okay. If I
Okay.
tell you,
Sweet and
Well, might as well just tell
Just
them.
explain
Yeah.
to me what it is, cause that like.
it's a Snickers bar inside of a pickle.
Okay, I could do that.
yeah,
fine.
that's
Yeah,
it. Tastes
yeah.
it tastes.
It's
It honestly
the-
tastes better than you
what-
think.
That doesn't.
Yeah.
See, that does nothing for. That's not bad at all. I will do that. But it's like it's the spicy and the gross. The amount of sodas I've drank through a student's sock.
No.
Oh yeah,
No,
man.
no,
That
no,
thing-
no.
That does not gross me out. Like we would do that as a youth ministry, and that would always be the one that I'd walk on stage and just do. Because
Oh,
there's
yeah.
something about it that just doesn't bother me. But there's so many other like. What you have to realize as a youth pastor or leader, if you're gonna do a game and it's gross or crazy,
You have to do
you've
it.
got to be
Yeah.
willing to do it. So I'll do this. This is not a problem. Pickle and Snickers.
Are you gonna do it with them?
I'll
Yeah,
do it with
Timmy,
you.
did you
I
do it
actually
last
kinda
week?
like them.
Yeah, I don't.
Dude, they taste good. I
This
could
is
sit
not
on
a
my
big
couch
deal.
and I could eat
I
them.
like pickles and.
Go
Yeah,
ahead,
it's not
take
a
your
big deal.
pick. You can
Take
take,
my
Take your
take your pickle. You can take the rubber band.
You see how nice it was?
You guys want?
Take the rubber band. What's the other option? Just eat the rubber bands? Like, just like you can take the rubber band off or eat the rubber band.
Double points.
Take a bite with the rubber bands on.
Double.
there.
Oh
Ew.
man,
But we figured out. Hey, this will be our initiation. Oh wait.
double points though.
don't think it's gonna be a big deal.
Okay,
I've been
everyone-
craving a Snickle.
We could move.
Snickle.
That's what we
Dude,
call it.
I low key. It was
I
not
like
that bad.
that.
Know when you guys are ready.
This is a Polaroid.
Yeah. Cheers.
Ooh, ASMR.
It's not
Oh,
bad.
this is a sweet pickle.
Yeah,
Yeah,
No.
don't. The worst part about this is that it's a sweet pickle.
yeah.
Wait, what do you mean?
Wait.
sweet pickle? There's different types of.
No, I think the Snickers made it sweeter now.
What? No, there's different types of pickles.
Yeah.
There's a sweet
one,
pickle.
huh?
Well, look, champions. Wow.
It's not bad.
Yeah, it's
No,
like
not
it's
bad.
no. This is like a rite of
Dude, my
passage.
stomach was getting nervous because you asked about nuts. I thought you had one of those like really spicy ones.
Oh no,
The
thanks.
spicy stuff's what I won't do
Yeah.
anymore because that will mess me up.
Look at that.
I think someone else should take a bite.
I don't like.
Here, Cly.
We started the immediate. Oh, I don't mind, dude. This thing was fire.
It's
Actually.
not bad.
What's the worst thing you've
I've done
been part of?
at there's a place called Ginky Yaki in like Lakewood, and it is they have something called the Death Taco,
Oh, no way.
and I ate it and I thought I was allergic to it, and then afterwards. It's the only food I felt go all the way down my digestives. Like I could have told you, I'd be like, oh, it's right here in my lower.
way.
Like I was, and yeah,
Oh man.
and then coming out, it was even worse. So it was like, that's why like spicy. I won't. Gary knows this. At the youth pastor refresher
Yes, I remember that.
in Palm Springs. Yeah, someone brought one of those one chip.
Yep.
But and here's the deal: is I'm also huge. Like I give into peer pressure. It is. We talked about my testimony. It's crazy I didn't do drugs.
Yeah,
Because because I give into peer pressure so easily, especially in the youth context. If people start chanting my name,
You'll do it?
I'll do it. And so they brought the
Good to
chip
know.
up, and I was like,
I
okay, I
remember
get.
that.
Gary's like, because usually my out is Gary. Gary's like the one who's like, no, he's like the serious one. I'm the goofy one, right? But then Gary's like, no, we're gonna eat it. And so I'm like, okay. He takes a bite, and I think he realized how spicy it was, grabbed it and threw it. And he's like, don't eat that, dude. So he saved my life, but
Yeah.
spicy and then like really gross. Cause the thing is too, if I'm gonna speak somewhere, I don't want to be throwing up or
Run to
like,
the toilet.
yeah, I'm not like, I don't want people to see this and be like, oh, this dude's a diva. It's not like I have this, but
Yeah.
I do tell people, I'm like if you want me to eat a pickle with a Snickers, that's no problem. But
Yeah.
like spicy,
Yeah.
extra gross, I can't really do anymore.
What
But
about-
I did it. I
What
did my
about
time.
Gary? He when and if he comes on here one day, you know he's gonna eat the Snickle too. That's the guest snack.
Wow. I don't know how he'll do. I don't think he likes pickles. I like pickles. That might be tougher for him.
We might have
So I
to.
don't like that.
Yeah. Oh well. But we do have a separate challenge. That was just our guest rite of passage.
Oh.
Take one pass.
This is more so an educational video. If you guys
Care
ever,
about all of your guys' safety.
I have one.
Just one or two?
Just
Just
one.
one.
Okay, you might need a partner for this exercise.
Here,
Help use it.
you
Yep.
guys partner up.
We're gonna see who can escape the zip tie handcuffs, and we're gonna teach everyone how to escape.
Can you? I already have one.
Oh, for one of these, you
That's
might.
for you.
Can you?
Zip
All
tie
right.
him, please.
Okay, everyone, mic's out of the way because we're
Zip
gonna
tie me.
start screaming and laughing, and it's gonna be all like mumbo jumbo,
Can you
rumble.
zip tie me?
Yeah, you want to tie it as tight as you can.
Mine's pretty tight.
Would be the best place to put it.
Yeah, this is
To the side, it's fine.
I put it like down.
Or mute it. Here, let me see.
Oh, do you want me to?
No, I think I got it.
Well, we'll
Okay.
just
Here.
Let me hook you up. Ooh, you got some big wrists. This guy plays baseball. There you go. Oh,
What happened to your fingers, Sam?
Huh? Oh, I cut it.
wait. So if we're all zip tied and we all can't get out,
Oh,
get out. I guess we better get out.
no, someone could grab scissors with zip ties, you know?
Okay, there we go.
Where's scissors?
Or a knife.
Where do we have scissors?
This is gonna be a long video.
It's gonna be a long.
in the inside pocket
Wow.
of my bomber
Why did we-
jacket.
These look really big.
Oh.
Okay, what? How, tell me.
Are we waiting until everyone's zip tied to try?
Yeah.
Did I do it?
No,
that
you
way?
did the wrong way.
Oh.
You gotta put the
Oh
other side.
my
So you
goodness.
never ate the lunch.
Other way.
I didn't.
What?
Gary
way?
saved my life.
It's a
I
race.
did.
We're gonna see
No.
who would be
I
the
remember
last
I
one
took
kidnapped.
a
If
little
we're all
tiny
in this
piece of
room.
it. The
So
one
Clyde
shit
put
like
it
that,
wrong.
absolutely horrible.
Yeah, I don't want to do it. I've got nothing to prove either.
Oh,
Alright.
there we go.
Oh man, she got me locked in. I'm kind of.
Well,
I'm turning purple already.
I know.
Okay.
You
Oh,
gotta
here.
try and do what we did.
Well, don't worry, you'll be easy, Hannah. Your hands
Yeah,
are pretty small.
your wrists are tiny.
I
You'll be
gotta
able to
pee. I
slip
have
out
to
of
go
it.
pee.
Every video.
You always have to go pee.
Oh, I'm turning purple because I'm squeezing the zip tie so hard.
Okay.
Alright,
okay,
teach
okay.
us how to get out of
Okay.
this, please.
Ow.
I'm just gonna go for it, honestly. I saw this on
Wait.
TikTok.
You
Okay.
gotta tell us when to go.
This is where. Alright.
You
On
guys
your
know
mark.
too, right?
Wait, what are we supposed to do?
Hey, he doesn't read the group chat.
I didn't.
No, nobody's told me what to do, so.
Okay, you go
You gotta
1,
like.
2, 3, and as hard as you can, pull your elbows all the way to the back, and it should break.
Make sure
Okay.
you do it right.
Go hard all the
And-
way.
Oh! Oh, he's done. He's gonna be locked in here. Wait, time out.
Nope.
Oh!
Elbows
Oh,
out.
that
It
was
also has to be as tight as possible.
I don't think all my water's open.
I got you. You're okay. Alright. Yeah.
Alright, here we go.
I don't know if it's as tight as possible.
You gotta low key put your elbows out already.
Yeah.
Oh!
It's not!
He's stuck. He's stuck.
Ow! It's hurting!
It's a trap. Okay.
Alright,
I
oh,
saw.
I can go tighter.
Okay, I
You can
saw.
go tighter.
Okay,
Okay.
don't panic. I saw another method.
Okay, you ready?
Oh, you can use your shin.
Ready?
I saw another method.
I'm gonna try and do it.
Okay.
No, wait, time out. I saw another method.
Oh, Sam, got it.
Ow!
I saw another method. You could tie your shoelace through it, and you like do bicycle crunches.
I don't think. I feel like I'm on pop my wrist. How did you do it so easily?
We're gonna leave our guest here.
Dude, my wrists are about to bleed right now.
Wait, you have scissors?
Someone get
No,
some
What is that? Get your knife out.
Listen.
How did you get? But I'm mad that it didn't work.
Give me another one. Let's
Okay.
try this again.
Whoa,
No,
force me.
Dude.
Okay.
Look
I have
up.
another method. I have another method.
Yeah, what?
Okay, so wait, let's pull up TikTok.
Oh,
so I can-
No,
No,
it's
I think he's about to lose his hands.
Oh, you have a shoelace.
No, you put your shoelace through.
No, don't even try
I'm
that.
taking my shoelace off.
Okay, we have a scissors in the room.
Well, scissors.
Lower scissors.
No. Give me
Oh,
scissors.
oh.
This dude pointed his knife down at me, bro.
Here,
I was trying to see
Give me
what
again.
angle to go at.
Okay, it low key hurt to get it off too though. Like mine
not
actually
really.
like
Other way,
stung.
other way, other way.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just mad because you guys did it first try.
Okay, wait. Where
Go.
are your guys' hands? Clay.
I can't believe out of all the people our guests, how rude.
Never coming back.
No.
Let me try one more.
Okay.
Dude, this guy to me has huge wrists.
I'm gonna pee myself. I do.
Alright.
Bro, look at that.
Yeah. All right. If you get kidnapped with zip.
Yeah, if I get kidnapped, I'm stuck, bro.
Give me another one.
How did you? Wait, how's the shin supposed to? You're supposed to go like this.
No, it was the other way.
Ow.
All right. Well, anyway.
Pastor Brian didn't do it.
I'm
All right,
starting to
here
get
we
my
go.
oily hands.
Oh no, you need to take this off of me right now. That hurts. What the
Bro,
heck?
Dude, I am chilling.
Wait, you never tried yet?
I did, and I almost knocked the wind out of myself. I hit the wrong
Oh,
place.
wait, really?
You just gotta send, I
Did you
think.
do it on your own?
I didn't get kidnapped.
Also, won't a kidnapper, if they're a good kidnapper, they'll zip tie your hands behind your back, not in
Oh
front
no,
of you.
there's a method for that. Hook me up, Hannah.
Let's see it.
I can't even reach behind my back.
Wait,
too
move
wide.
your arms.
I'm
Hold
trying. Okay, maybe you guys can try after me, but I think.
Dude, in case someone doesn't think I was really trying, like my
No,
wrists
he's
are-
trying.
My wrists are on the verge of bleeding, bro. I
You
don't know
too.
what
It
happened.
doesn't. Oh.
I'm trying as hard as I can to get my arms as far back as I can. Oh yeah, there we go. Oh man, this is gonna be crazy.
What is the shin one?
I'm
You
kinda
do it
scared.
I think the same thing.
Honestly, I don't think I'm gonna get out of this one. It looked a lot easier on TikTok, but I don't think it's one of those things where it's like, hey, I think I can do it.
I just.
Wait, did you just put 2 on?
Yeah.
Because I had to.
All right. What? How?
Instead of just poke your butt out, it's so simple.
Oh, we're gonna leave it like that.
Wait, turn around.
Yeah, turn so the camera can see. Yeah, it's not working, bro.
Okay, got it. Get me out. It hurts.
I think maybe they did that so that you
Yeah.
People would do
stupid.
that.
I think it's more flexible. People can do that.
I feel confident in myself.
I know.
How did
Yeah, you
do
guys don't
that?
know how it isn't. I'm just mad I couldn't do it.
Just pull apart. I don't even know how I did it, honestly.
I know. I think I kind of just.
That hurt.
I'm chilling.
Full send on
That
that.
really hurt.
Alrighty,
All right.
land this
Well-
plane.
We'll go no mic on this one. Hopefully the audio isn't awful. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Cabin Time with our very special guest, Mr. Elliot. Whoa. Cabin Time over and out. Thank you.
Any cheat code?
I didn't get a GTA cheat code this week, actually. I'm gonna be
You
honest.
post.
We're gonna leave our guest here.
Dude, my wrists are about to bleed right now.